We hear so much about how expensive it is to eat healthy. Do you really think that it is? Like, if you were to look at the landscape, is it because the people are poor that they have to eat these low quality subsidized foods? Is there a way to get out of that, or are they kind of trapped there?
It's complex. And Joel Salatin is the person that put this on my radar the first time. There was a point where people spent about 20% of income on healthcare and about 5% of income on food. And then that, or the opposite, it was 20% on food, 5% on healthcare.
Oh, yeah.
And that has switched. Mm-hmm. So we just did a 1-for-1 swap. And one would probably argue that now, with the subsidies that go into healthcare and the third-party payer system and, the costs just spiraling out of control, that probably gets worse and worse. So if you factor real earnings decreasing, real purchasing power decreasing, then it is harder to eat well. Mm-hmm. And also, I made this point. I don't know if it made it into the book or maybe it was in the film. Like, if you go into a 7-Eleven, my second book, Wired to Eat, really talked about the neuroregulation of appetite and like we're wired for seeking as much novelty in our food as we can possibly get, and then we get bored of things, which is good because there's potential nutrient deficiencies if you eat only one thing. There's toxicity that could occur. So we're really wired up to seek as wide a variety of foods as you could. Any person, the poorest of the poor, goes into a 7-Eleven, they have more palate options than like any Pharaoh of Egypt, king of England had until 1980 or something. Yeah. So the poorest of the poor can go in and have this like palate experience and these flavor experiences that are really incredible. They are inexpensive and they're kind of addictive. And it's oftentimes one of the only things that people have really over control in their lives. They're like, my job sucks, I'm poor, I'm marginalized, all these things. And then they can go in and have this meal. And again, I'm just saying 7-Eleven, but it's kind of like any kind of junk foodie type thing that's comparatively inexpensive. You get a bunch of calories out of it and you feel good for a little while. It spins the dopamine signals in the brain and you feel pretty good. Mm-hmm. And it is arguably somewhat more difficult to eat healthfully. But, if we flip this stuff around, like I remember I want to post this at some point when my wife and I were getting the fourth CrossFit affiliate gym up and going. We worked part-time in the gym, part-time as physical therapy aides. For 2 years, we as a combined household made less than $10,000 a year. Mm-hmm. And we had a $400 a month apartment. We had 2 cars that fortunately nothing broke on them during that 2-year period. But like I posted some blog posts then where I would go to like Food for Less or something like that. Cheap ground beef, cabbage, onions, you can eat on the cheaper side, but you then have the labor and the time costs of cooking food, which if people are, single mom living at the margins, 3 kids to feed or something like that, like it's hard. Yeah. Like it's legitimately hard to cook, fresh meals. That is the way that you make this stuff cheaper, but it doesn't taste as good as like a, Hot Pocket or something like that. It's not as easy, not as quick, doesn't give you that immediate gratification. So it can be done, but it's hard. Like there's the time costs associated with it, just knowing how to cook. Tons of people, particularly younger folks, don't know how to cook. Yeah. When you look at my wife and me, you're kind of like, what bet did she lose to marry that guy? She's actually like pretty good looking and smart and everything. And when she met me, there were 5 women for every 1 guy at Chico State, and I really knew how to cook well. So she was like, oh, okay, this sucks, but this is probably the cleanest dirty shirt we got going on.
Oh, heck no.
Well, I feel like I had the same experience, and I just got out of college. I was way out of shape after doing all the college stuff, and I got a picture of myself like playing with my dog with my shirt off in the summertime. And I was like, oh, what is wrong with me? What happened? I was like a high school athlete. What happened to me? And so I was like, we're going to figure something out. I found Mark Sisson's book on the paleo diet, and we started that. I was making $10,000 a year between the two of us. I mean, we lived in World War II housing, like literally housing built for World War II soldiers returning. Yeah. It was like the one room was like our office here. Like that was how big it was. Wow. And we were able to make it work. We were able to make it work by buying a cow. It had a little bit of upfront cost, but we had a freezer. And this is Montana, so everyone has lots of freezers. You can get freezers cheap, freezing a bunch of cow meat and just making it in mass. No time to do anything. We didn't have kids at the time, so it wasn't too bad for that. And she's a good cook. But, when you're young, it's difficult to make those decisions. But just like getting out of poverty, there's a certain set of rule set that if you follow, it generally does lead you out of poverty as you get older. If you don't have kids before you're married, probably not going to be poor as someone who does. If you graduate high school, if you can stick with a 9-to-5 job with good soft skills, you'll probably find yourself a way out of poverty over time. That's what the data tells us, and it's kind of true for diet too. If you take ownership of it and you consciously do something about it rather than just kind of falling into the baseline programming, you're more likely to find yourself in a healthier situation.